Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Very good afternoon to everyone. This is the second lecture in this series on the course titled Understanding Gandhi. As you have already been given the first lecture about the course, the significance of the course, and why should we have such kind of a course. So this particular lecture is more about the political intervention of Gandhi with special reference to Hindu Swaraj. So first and foremost, Gandhi's Hindu Swaraj remains the key text to understand his philosophy even till date. And the thing is that it was in 2009, which was the year when 100 years of Hindu Swaraj was completed, that we see there is a resurgence in the interest in Gandhi. So first of all, let's try to understand what did Gandhi intend to do when he decided to write his text Hind Swaraj. So I would like to begin with the wider context in which we should try to locate the book. So first and foremost, it was about the existing paradigms at that time. So there were two paradigms which were existing, that is namely liberal and Marxist, and eventually in Indian context we consider Gandhian paradigm as the third paradigm to understand the politics. So if we look at liberal and Marxist paradigm, it's the worldwide existing two ways of thinking, and not just about politics but also about the society as well as you can say the nature of individual. So liberal paradigm is more about the human nature, as in how individualistic notion of the self decides how people are supposed to behave in the society. And similarly, it's the notion of property, the private property is something which comes from the liberal paradigm. And if you see the context of capitalism as it has grown all over the world, I mean starting from Europe and then later on going to countries like India and many other parts of the world, primarily in the context of colonialism. So liberal paradigm becomes very important to understand, and the Marxist paradigm came as a response to liberal paradigm. So first we should try to understand why is it necessary to understand liberal paradigm, because Gandhi was trying to address to these two paradigms which were also prevalent at that time in India, because moderates and extremists, as we look at the national movement in India, and these two are the phases prior to Gandhian phase. So while moderates were in a way addressing to how the liberals understood the society and the polity, extremists were not necessarily the Marxists, because the extremists, the term is used for those who were also called the militant nationalists. So primarily why Marxism is the second paradigm to understand, because that's about the collective ownership in the society, why state as an institution should be important to take care of the means of ownership as well as how the society should be operated. So liberal and Marxist, these two paradigms are the worldviews which address to the European context. And if we look at the Indian National Congress, the way it has operated, so moderates and extremists were the two phases. So what was Gandhi's holistic vision? It gets reflected in this text Hind Swaraj. So Hindu Swaraj should be seen as not just a political text or not just a social text, but it is more of for Gandhi, since he had a holistic vision of the society, for him the social, political and ethical were not separate from each other. He took up these things in totality and they were to be seen in tandem with each other, and they were something which were operating with each other. So what was he trying to do through Hindu Swaraj? It's something that he was trying to create a new kind of paradigm which we later understood as Gandhian paradigm. And it was also about, it was not just about the state but equally about society and how the technology as well as property. These are the things that we got to understand Gandhi was trying to address through this text. And understanding Gandhi's holistic vision through Hind Swaraj, and we will be focusing more upon his political intervention. So why for Gandhi that particular time, 1909 is the time when he is writing this text, what was going on in Gandhi's mind? Since Gandhi had already traveled to Europe, he had been to England, and by that time he had seen another country, he had gone to South Africa. So along with India, he already had in a way exposure to two more countries. He had lived his he did his education of law he got in Britain, and then he is going to South Africa. And it is in South Africa that for the first time his notion of political is in a way it is taking shape, why we need to raise our voice against injustice. So these two things are already there, and while coming back from South Africa, that he wrote this text on the ship. So how do we understand Hind Swaraj? So I would suggest that there can be two ways of approaching Gandhi's writings in general and Hind Swaraj in particular, which are, one is textual and another is contextual. Let me just talk a bit about these two methods, because these are two methods through which we understand any particular person's writing. If we go by the textual method, it says that we should focus upon the text, as in what is written in the text, the words which have been used by the thinker. So let's go by the text, and it is more of a text specific approach. So we can have an analysis of the words used in the text, or we can discuss about what are how those ideas have been elaborated. But the other approach, which is contextual, it talks about that what was the context in which that text was written. So instead of focusing more upon the text, it says that we should focus equally on the context in which the book is being written. So the context itself becomes important. So what is context? Context is primarily time and space. So the time in which that text was written, as well as the space to which that person is addressing. So time and space taken together, so that context becomes important, and why that person is writing that book, as in what kind of influences that the person is having, why is he doing such kinds of a text. So coming to the text itself, Hind Swaraj, as I already mentioned, that it is the key text to understand Gandhian philosophy, and not just in the time when Gandhi wrote this book, because we must remember that when Gandhi wrote this book, it was banned by the Britishers. It was said that it can be in a way, it can be notorious, and people will get they might get agitated, and that kinds of things were being said. So Hind Swaraj remains so significant even after more than 100 years. In fact, precisely this year it's 110 years of Hind Swaraj, because it was written in 1909 and we are in 2019 now. So this book in a way shows how political emancipation of India is not enough, but moral regeneration of the Indians is equally important. So let me just elaborate little bit more on these 2 points, because for Gandhi these are two different things. One, that political emancipation of India we are seeking for, that the Britishers must go, right? So will that be enough if the Britishers go? Because in this text, Hind Swaraj, Gandhi has written it in detail that merely making the Britishers leave India will not be enough, because ultimately if we will be aiming at creating another Britain in the name of India, if we follow the similar institutions, we have the parliament, we have the political parties, then that will not be enough. So he was asking the Indians to have a moral regeneration, that they need to revive those values through which we have been living for a long time. So these two things for him were to go on parallelly, that political emancipation should come, along with that the moral regeneration of the Indians must take place. So the values were very important for Gandhi. Now coming to the method through which Hind Swaraj is written, and this is about how the text has addressed. So the book is written in dialogic manner. So this is important to know that many of the books that we read, they are written in a monologue form. Monologue is when just the author is mentioning his view. But why did Gandhi choose dialogue as a method? And David Hardiman says that it seems Gandhi was quite influenced by, say, texts by Plato and also the Socratic tradition, because dialogic method is something through which you can address the readers more effectively. So, and not just in West but also in India, because in Bhagavad Gita it is throughout the samvad between Krishna and Arjun. So, the tradition of samvad or say debate is something which remains so significant for Gandhi throughout his life. And not only while writing Hindu Swaraj, even in his real life he had many conversations, and we know about his conversations with Ambedkar, to his conversation with Tagore, and even with the Britishers. So, for him communication was key to his understanding, and even in this text Hind Swaraj he has taken up this dialogic method to write the book. So, the entire book is in the question answer form, that somebody is asking a question, although both sides are done by Gandhi himself, but he has posed the questions and then he has answered the question. So, partly this book should be seen as Gandhi's own quest for truth, and as if Gandhi was struggling with certain things, the ideas that were going on in his mind. So, he was trying to address, as in, so he felt that similar to the things that he is facing, maybe even others are facing similar dilemmas. So, this book is about answering to those dilemmas, how to overcome those problems. So, as I already mentioned, that this book was written on a ship. So, Gandhi was sitting on a ship for like almost 10 days, and the book is written in merely 9 days. So, that also seems quite interesting, that just 9 days he took for writing the book. He is writing the book in a dialogic manner. He is posing questions to himself and he is answering them. And he had chosen many themes to do that, and this trip was from England to South Africa. So, Gandhi was on this voyage and he is doing this thing. So, he is in a thought process, he is traveling as well, and he is trying to answer his own questions which were going on in his mind. Now, coming to the historical context of Hind Swaraj, I have taken help of the introductory part done by Anthony Parel. So, Anthony Parel says that there are 4 broad currents through which we should try to understand the historical context of Hind Swaraj, and he says first and foremost it is the modern civilization. What were the major worries which were there in Gandhi's mind? So, he began with modern civilization, which was one of the biggest problems for Gandhi. So, usually Gandhi's views on modern civilization is understood as something as if he is negative about modern civilization, which is not the case, because there are 2 kinds of views. There are those who have seen it in a negative way, and there are those who consider it more of something which is in between, that he was not totally against it or neither totally in favor of it. So, Gandhi was critical but not wholly negative. This is the point which Parel is making. For example, he welcomed many contributions which came along with modernity, be it equality, civil liberty, rights. All these notions have their own they have their meaning and relevance at that time as well as in present times. So, for Gandhi, equality, civil liberty, rights, probably Gandhi tried to give new meanings to these ideas, but it is not that he completely discarded these ideas. Although many a times he did not agree to the meaning which liberalism gave to these concepts, as we had already discussed in the beginning, that it was the liberal and Marxist, these 2 phases, and the liberals and Marxists, these 2 define these concepts, like equality becomes formal equality in liberal sense, and it is about, in a way, more of an economic equality, something which is sought after in the Marxist tradition. So, in a way, when Gandhi tried to approach these concepts, many of these concepts also got a Gandhian understanding or Gandhian way of approaching these ideas. So, he defined civilization as a mode of conduct. For Gandhi, civilization was more about how do people follow a certain kind of conduct, and in Gujarati the term for civilization is used sudharo, and Sudharo means the right conduct, how people must behave in a moral sense, or what is ethical, that way a person should approach the thing. So for him it was more about the path of duty. So Gandhi is not so much in favor of rights, but rather he takes up the path of duty. So these two, as we had discussed, that liberal path and Marxist path, these two are already like two well set paradigms to understand politics. And if we want to undertake Gandhian paradigm as the third broad current to understand not just Indian politics, but say politics in any XYZ country, then Gandhian politics would give a new meaning to these concepts like rights, because Gandhi will focus more upon duty. He will say that a person must conform to what he is supposed to do. So this is what for modern civilization Gandhi had, like Gandhi has written things about what kinds of problems may come when it will come to railways, and there will be chances of the diseases may get spread. So this kind of thing Gandhi has written, and many a times we feel as if he was completely against modernity, but that is not the case, because Gandhi was not completely against it, and rather he was being choosy about the things, what are the values that he would like to take up. For instance, he gave importance to discipline, or say the sense of time. They were so central to Gandhi's understanding. One must do his things on time. So probably even these are the things which come up from his training in modernity, or say the sense of discipline, etc. Now coming to the second point which Parel mentions is the politics of South Africa. Parel says that it is his training in South Africa where Gandhi started training himself for his political intervention. Now this is important to understand, that how does a person decide to have a certain kind of political orientation, or how you make up your mind to have a different take on the things which are already given. So it was in South Africa when he came across the injustice which was being done against the blacks in South Africa, and Gandhi himself also witnessed and became party to it. We all know about that story, how he was thrown out from the train when he decided to do that journey on. So he felt that maybe just taking the ticket, just paying the price for ticket was enough, but sometimes your identity, as if you are a black in a society which is dominated by the whites. So this is something Gandhi not only witnessed those problems there, but rather he also started organizing the people over there, that why they need to come together to fight for themselves. So that recognition of injustice is the first criteria to become political in one sense. So you make up your mind to make your political intervention clear. So it was in South Africa that for the first time Gandhi's political intervention while fighting for the rights of the blacks, that he decided to take up this role of leadership. And it was this Natal Indian Congress was the body of which he took up the role of leadership. And not only that, but also in 1904 he established his Phoenix settlement, which was first of its kind. I mean the ashrams, because later on when Gandhi came to India, he established many ashrams, but the experiments began in South Africa itself. So Phoenix settlement was first in 1904, and later also in Johannesburg he had formed another house which is called the Tolstoy farm, that was in 1910. So two of his ashrams he started experimenting in South Africa itself, and later replicated when he came to India at places like Sabarmati and Wardha, etc. So we must remember that it is in South Africa that Gandhi started with his experiments of political leadership as well as the social experiments, how we have to intervene into the injustices which are going on in the society, and the need to be a collective, and why we need to make up our voice so clear. So these are the 2 points that we have made up so far, that is modern civilization was one broader paradigm, and another was the politics of South Africa. Now coming to the third point, it is the politics of expatriate Indians, means the people who were living outside India. as we already mentioned, that Gandhi had exposure of two countries, Britain as well as South Africa. So Gandhi was aware that already a large number of people are living outside India, and they are not so happy about the things that are going on in India in present times, because by that time Indian National Congress was already established, and Gandhi was knowing that these people were also trying to organize themselves in different names and shapes, as in, so different kinds of political undercurrents were already in making, and already they were trying to have different takes on the issues. So the main currents of that time, as we mentioned, the liberalism and Marxism were two, and not just these two, but rather even certain people were in favor of terrorism. And terrorism at that time, as we sometimes, like even in the name of militant nationalism, what took place in India is something that is closer to terrorism in present times. So Gandhi felt that these people are not fully committed to the problems which India is facing at the moment, and he felt that probably these people are too carried away by the values of modern civilization. So Gandhi felt that there is a need to overcome this excessive love for modernity, and why modern civilization is something which has kind of swayed away these people. So even in that time, Gandhi was in a way more or less not only influenced by, say, Indian tradition, you can say, but rather his readings of texts like Tolstoy and Ruskin. These were the things which started influencing Gandhi much more, and he started looking at the values like non-violence as something which is the key principle to solve the problems which were going on in the society. So unlike his many counterparts who were thinking of violence as the means to be adopted to overcome the problems which the Britishers have started in India, Gandhi took up a different path, which is of the non-violence. So I would like to say that this non-violent path is another major cardinal principle of Gandhian political philosophy, as in why his political take on non-violence. It's something which we must understand, that throughout his life he remained so committed to this value of non-violence, and not just in theory or not just in value, but rather in terms of practice as well. So for Gandhi, it was something which was to be practiced individually, as well as it was to be translated into the action by the masses. So how these two will have a correlated theme with each other is something, that's how he translated it into the Indian national movement. There is a need to take up the help of conscience. He felt that the conscience of the people is not doing well when they are going to the path of violence. So for him, being morally correct was something which was prior to anything else. So conscience will be so significant for Gandhi, and taking up the path of non-violence. So he gave a call to those expatriate Indians who were living outside India, that they should not take up the path of violence, but rather they should unite themselves in the name of non-violence, and should take up the path suggested by people like Tolstoy and Ruskin, instead of being carried away by the values of violence, the way the Britishers are doing to the other parts of the world. So similarly, even the Indians should not be following the same path. Now coming to the fourth part, which is the Indian nationalist movement. So the text Hind Swaraj, it begins with the analysis of Indian National Congress. So Gandhi takes up an idea, as in what are the things which are going on in present times, and why he needs to intervene in this particular moment of time, what is the need of the hour. So Gandhi takes up this view that, as he had seen that liberal and Marxists were the two undercurrents in the Europe, similarly he felt that moderates and extremists, these were the two factions within Indian national movement, and he felt that both of them have their own limitations, and Gandhi decided to take a third path. And thus what he tries to do is that he tries to show the limitations to both these existing paradigms, that is the moderates as well as the extremists. He was suggesting that both of them need to think about their paths, their goals, their methods, that they need to rethink about it. He felt that both the paths are in a way the extremist one, because if the moderates are going for the pleading, etc., that also has its own limitations, while if the extremists are willing to take up the path of violence, that is also not correct. Now, primarily, if we will look at the moderates, Gandhi, because the moderates also stood for non-violent positions, so Gandhi seems closer to the moderates, but Gandhi had he showed limitations to the path taken by the moderates, because he felt that the moderates, when they are taking up the path, it will take too long for them to reach at the solution. That was one. And secondly, if they will, so why did he say no to even moderates? While I just said that Gandhi seems closer to the moderates, but even then he had differences, probably because who were the moderates? They were also the part of the elitist section of the society. So Gandhi felt that somewhere the masses will not be able to feel closer to the moderates as well, and thus he was saying that the moderates should also take such a path that they should come closer to the masses rather than themselves becoming part of the elitist section of the society. So these four undercurrents are so deeply entrenched in this text Hind Swaraj. Now coming to the body, the Hind Swaraj, what kind of text it is. So the book has altogether 20 chapters with the chapters like what is Swaraj or civilization, brute force, passive resistance. Now these 20 chapters, the titles, if we closely look at, they again suggest the holistic vision of Gandhi, that Gandhi is not just talking about politics or not just about society, but rather the different fragments of the society. For instance, look at education or machinery. These are the titles of his chapters. So he has tried to say that particularly let's talk about what is Swaraj. Gandhi says that Swaraj to him is not just about a country getting political independence. That will be just one way of looking at Swaraj. For Gandhi, Swaraj meant much more than merely the political independence of the country. Similarly, if we look at civilization, usually we think of civilization as something which, how a country progresses in the name of civilization, but for Gandhi it was equally about the mode of conduct for the individual. So for Gandhi, the divide between individual and society is not as in we understand individual as a separate thing and society as a separate thing. Similarly, for the politics, society, economy, these are also something which are parts of the same, and for Gandhi it's the holistic understanding which is so significant to understand. His chapter called passive resistance. See, Gandhi didn't use the term satyagrah in the very beginning. He was earlier using the term passive resistance also because it has a context in the West. It was earlier used in the context of West, but later on Gandhi started using the term satyagrah, and in fact in as late as it was in 1925 when he wrote a separate piece to distinguish between these two terms, passive resistance and satyagrah, as in why we should not understand these two as the same, but rather they are separate from each other. So Gandhi also wrote about education, why we need to think of education of a different kind, because he was not in favor of modern education. I mean modern education as in if it is about those scientific developments only, or why modern education is limited to just the elitist section of the society. And Gandhi also stressed on, he later gave on the term Nai Taaleem for it, and he said that the language should also be given equal importance, and why we should not think of English as a language should be given a predominance over other languages. So for him the mother tongue was again something which should be the first language in which a child must be educated. So Gandhi was trying to give his views in such a way that every common man could make sense of the text Hind Swaraj. So Hind Swaraj was not addressing to merely the elitist section of the society or those who were already well educated, but rather to anyone and everyone. And in fact, Gandhi has written this himself, that somebody may laugh upon me after reading this book, but I don't mind whether it makes sense to everyone or not. I will be very happy if even a child could just read this book. So for him, the audience was very clear. He wanted to reach to the masses. He wanted a wider number of people to make sense of Hindu Swaraj, that here I come with a new kind of thinking of society, a new way of understanding politics, which will be closer to the masses, of which everyone can try to make sense of. Now, at the end of this text, Hind Swaraj, Gandhi has given a list of certain books, which is a list of 20 books, which he recommends his readers to read, that this book should be read in complement with these books. And he has written about, say, the book by Tolstoy called The Kingdom of God is Within You, or by Thoreau, the book on the duty of civil disobedience, similarly by Ruskin, Unto This Last. So many of the views of Gandhi were actually influenced by these thinkers. So later on in his life, he read the texts like Gita and Upanishads, and his views on religion, etc., were influenced by these books. But if we look at Hind Swaraj, till the time he is writing Hind Swaraj, he had read more about these people who were of different countries from Europe, and Gandhi was deeply looking at the issue why we need to take up the path of non-violence. That was first and foremost thing for him. Secondly, poverty is something which he took very closely to his heart, and that's why this book, Unto This Last, this text remains so significant to understand why the poor of the poorest should be our target, why we need to reach to the last person in the society. And these are the words that Gandhi used throughout his life, and for him, reaching to that last man in the society is something which should be the target for the people, or for each, and especially the polity. So his political intervention was of such kind that the society, the most disadvantaged section of the society, should also get the benefit of the politics which is going on. Now, Hind Swaraj as a text, as I have already mentioned, that we need to see it as the holistic understanding which Gandhi has discussed in this book, and this text could be seen as more of a text of political philosophy, because it is not just about society but equally about education or history, polity, etc. And even after 110 years, although we have reached to such a level where it's almost like more than 70 years of independence, but many of the problems we have not been able to solve. Now, coming to the Swaraj in Gandhian framework, let's take up Gandhi's own definition of Swaraj. Gandhi says that Swaraj is a state of being of individuals and nations. So he is not distinguishing between a separate Swaraj for individuals and another Swaraj for nations. For Gandhi, Swaraj is the same, which is to be used for individuals as well as for the nations. Parrott had said that the concept used by Gandhi has been used interchangeably for 4 different meanings, and we must understand that these 4 meanings in a way are 4 separate meanings, but at the same time they are also having a conversation with each other, or they should be seen as how Gandhi is using them interchangeably. So first is, the meaning is national independence. Now, this meaning of national independence through Swaraj, Gandhi has first and foremost he wrote in Hind Swaraj, but later on, even in his other writings, for example, his list of constructive programs which he gave in 1940, or a piece titled The Declaration of Independence in 1930, which he wrote on behalf of Indian National Congress, these 3 texts suggest that Gandhi meant something like national independence when he was using the term Swaraj. So, if we look at these 3 writings in Hind Swaraj, as we already had a long conversation on Hind Swaraj, why did he write Hind Swaraj, what are the things that he is addressing in Hind Swaraj. From Hind Swaraj we find a shift in constructive program, because in constructive program he is giving a list of 19 or 20 items what needs to be done in order to reconstruct the Indian society. For instance, why we need to remove untouchability, or why we need to why we need to ban drinking or alcoholism in the society. Gandhi was able to see that the problems which are there in Indian society, they are interlinked with each other. He related the cause of women with the issue of alcoholism, that if the men are drinking, then as a result they will be beating their wives. So for Gandhi, the issue of domestic violence was linked with the issue of alcoholism. Probably in a way Gandhi could see this kind of far reaching consequences which these issues are having. So constructive program, it also contains the things like, say, Hindu-Muslim unity, and as I already mentioned about untouchability, then why there should not be any kind of hatred in the society, then the cause of cottage industries, why we need to revive the rural handicrafts, etc. So in the constructive programs he has talked about that vision of a new India, why we need to re-establish a new kind of society. And the third piece, the Declaration of Independence in 1930, it is similar to the Declaration of USA, because in America when the country was formed, at that time what kind of a country we are aspiring for, the values which are mentioned are similar to those modernist vision about liberty, equality, fraternity, which were primarily the French Revolution, the values, and why we need to look for such values even in a new India or say modern India. So national independence is something which remained so close to Gandhi's vision of Swaraj, and we must remember that on the issue of national independence, probably he also had differences with, say, Tagore, because Tagore did not believe much in nationalism. He was talking about something which in present times we consider it more of internationalism. So that is the difference which Gandhi and Tagore had, and we will discuss about it in one of the other chapters when we will do Swadeshi. There also we will discuss about the difference between Gandhi and Tagore, but here I wanted to just mention that even on national independence issue, these two thinkers have taken up the issue of national independence in two different ways. Coming to the second issue, which is the political freedom of the individual. What is the political freedom of individual? Because at that time the Britishers were ruling the Indians. So for Gandhi it was so significant that we all should have a political voice. So political freedom is something that people were aspiring for at that time. So Indian national movement was going on and people were seeking for their political independence, and rest of the things like their economic independence and social independence, all these will be possible only when we first and foremost achieve the political independence. So political freedom of the individual, freedom for Gandhi was something which was so close to him, and he felt that individuals do aspire, like freedom is the first and foremost value that we look for. We all want to be free from all kinds of constraints, etc. Coming to the economic freedom of individual, because only political independence will not be enough, you also need to have economic freedom. So what would it mean? And for Gandhi, economic freedom was not similar to, as the liberals will say, that each one should have unlimited rights to have as much property as you want to have for yourself, because then that will create a kind of inequality in the society. There will be class division in the society. So Gandhi's economic freedom is very different from that of a liberal sense of economic freedom, because Gandhi will be talking more about things like trusteeship. Trusteeship for Gandhi is something which he experimented during his Kheda Satyagrah, that those who are rich in the society should consider themselves as the trustees of those who are not so well off. So in that sense, in a way, even Gandhi is criticized for not having critiqued capitalism, as if he was not against capitalism per se. But Gandhi seems to have experimented with this idea of trusteeship, and rather said that the capitalists in the society can take up this role of trustees, and they should be taking care of the poor in the society. Similarly, his another idea of voluntary poverty, which Gandhi undertook for himself. He decided to remain to live the life of a poor, and he is even criticized for, some people have said, that as if he was trying to praise the value of poverty, or in a way romanticizing poverty. But was Gandhi romanticizing poverty or not? It remains debatable. But he said that if everyone will try to live like a poor, it will be good for the society in a long run, because ultimately if we all become consumerist and happen to indulge ourselves much more into the materialistic needs, it will be unending. And probably in that context we can also see, as Gandhi had said, that if one country like Britain, which is so small in size, went on to conquer such a huge part of the world, what will happen if a country like India will also aspire to become like Britain? So similarly, even if the people will have, if everybody will have that unlimited desire to have as much as possible, or to have more and more of acquisitions, that will create a difficult kind of society. So Gandhi was not in favor of unlimited demands from each one, but rather voluntary poverty. Similarly, one more concept is important in this economic freedom, which is that of bread labor. This he took from Monderef, that the idea of bread labor is that each one must perform certain manual work in while doing the things, because your bread labor is something that you earn for yourself. So for Gandhi, if your forefathers were so rich and you have been given so much of money, you should not feel so great about that, because each one is supposed to earn for oneself. So the bread labor, the idea of bread labor has two connotations. One, that each one must get the things that you earn for yourself, and secondly, you must do the things manually for yourself. So you should not be dependent on others to do the things for you. So economic freedom for Gandhi acquires these three are the principles: the voluntary poverty and trusteeship and bread labor. These are the three ideas through which we should try to understand the idea of economic freedom in Gandhi's framework. And as I already mentioned, that we got to see that it is very different from that of economic freedom as we understand in the liberal framework, which suggests that there should not be much of command of the state, but rather people should have freedom to acquire as much as they want. Coming to the fourth understanding, or the fourth notion of Swaraj, which is about spiritual freedom of the individual, or say that what we also call as self-rule, which is the closest meaning of Swaraj. So what is spiritual freedom for Gandhi? Spiritual freedom for Gandhi is something which will take one closer to the moral well-being. Why each one must have a certain kind of moral upliftment, or the values of truth and non-violence are something which are to be practiced. So the fourth aspect, the spiritual freedom, is also about practicing those moral values which we usually get to see in the religious texts, but we need to practice them in the day-to-day life. And so I consider Gandhi more of as a conscience keeper. So probably this spiritual freedom is more about why our conscience should be our guiding force. So moving on towards the last section of the paper or the chapter, let's look at the contemporary relevance of Hind Swaraj. Why are we talking about Hind Swaraj in present times? First and foremost, many of the problems that we are facing in present times is something which is due to modern civilization through which we began, because modern civilization was first and foremost issue that Gandhi undertook while writing Hind Swaraj, that the problems which it is going to create. So we get to see that there is brutal violence all around in the society. It's starting from the wars among nations to the different sections in the society fighting with each other, be it the environmental degradation which is taking place, because excessive industrialization and urbanization, it has come up with its own consequences, and at present we are facing numerous problems which we got to take care of. And there is also this growing inequities in the society. The class divisions is at its all-time high. In present times, that growing inequities is not just within a society, but also among the nations. We have those developed countries and developing countries. Earlier we talked about merely developed and developing countries. Later we started talking about the first world country, second world country, and we consider the developing countries as the third world countries. And in present times we also talk about the fourth world and fifth world, because we have the countries in continents like Africa and Latin America where the poverty is so high that hardly the living conditions of the countries like say Sudan and Chad, which often go through famine. So what do we do with that kind of society? We happen to have such problems which are only increasing day by day. So how do we overcome those problems? So we need to understand that merely the economic progress of certain parts of the world will not be enough. We got to think that there are other parts of the world where people are living in such situation where there is hardly any water to drink or not having enough food to eat. So we are living in such a society, and what we call modern civilization has not been able to do enough for all the parts of the world. So the inequities which were there at the beginning of the 20th century, even in the 21st century we have inequities of a different kind. So sometimes they are created by the situation, or sometimes they are in a way manifested by the problems which are already going on. Now many people have, not many people but rather it's Ramchandra Guha who called Gandhi as an early environmentalist, because Gandhi in a way he didn't use the term environment during his lifetime, but rather he is the one who lived by such values that minimizing the needs is important. He lived by that value that each one of us should have lesser needs, and that will create a better society. And if we look at the way Gandhi lived, and if many of us could live by that value, probably it will put much lesser pressure on environment, because more and more consumption by each and every one in terms of the number of cars that we keep to the number of clothes that we want to buy for ourselves, that is generating extreme pressure on the environment. Coming to the idea of Hindu Swaraj, as in why should we read the text Hindu Swaraj even after 110 years of when that book was written. David Hardiman argues that some people have read this text Hind Swaraj as if Gandhi was attacking on the West or on the Europe from an Eastern perspective, as in Gandhi was informed by the opinion of say Eastern, the knowledge that he had from India. But we should understand that Gandhi's fundamental problem was something else. He was more interested in looking at the problems which were there in a global context. So Gandhi's book Hindu Swaraj cannot be seen merely as something in the context of India, because many of the things, the problems which he was talking about, the values there in the modernity which were in the West at that time, and Gandhi also felt that even among Indians, those who are living an elitist kind of lifestyle and those who are living by those modern values, is something which is problematic, and we need to understand that we have to address to those issues. Well, because if you are cut off from the masses, how are you going to lead the movement? So when Gandhi was writing this book in 1909, somewhere maybe it was there in his mind that in the years to come he is going to undertake the role of leadership for Indian national movement. We are not so sure about it, whether he could foresee himself in that role or not, but he was certainly addressing to the larger society, as in they need to look for a new way of looking at the society. And thus even today from the there is immense scope to learn from the idea of Swaraj, because as we already discussed that those four connotations of Swaraj, from national independence to political freedom and economic freedom and spiritual freedom, maybe we achieved national independence, but when it comes to economic freedom and when it comes to spiritual freedom, probably we are still we have to learn a lot. How are we going to have spiritual freedom? Because the notion of self, why we all should live a moral life or a high standard of our values like truth and non-violence, they are something that will give the society a better place to live. Thank you.